as opposed to just expecting the committee to do things. In other words, they expect you guys to spend some of your time.
It was built into our, on an annual basis, the board, we put forward a work program to the board, and then they adopted it as a component of our work program.
Great.
For the remainder of this calendar year, and our work will transition to next calendar year, and I fully anticipate putting it on there too. I did definitely, like Ryan indicated, this has been a bottom-up project. That in our case probably didn't go as fast as we wanted to, because again, looking bottom up, we had the other priorities that were coming top down that we had to address. But once the report went public and Ryan presented his findings and some of the benefits that can come on many levels, whether it be economic development, homeland security, agricultural preservation, and then, preaching to the choir is that list is endless. I saw an aha moment on the board's faces, and that was we didn't have the grandeur that we would hope. I mean, we wish they would have the special pen to sign the resolution and all press blinking lights, but it was pretty. It was uneventful. It was actually on the consent agenda, which is just one foul swoop. But the week before they voted, they started. There's a reason to do this, and I think seeing them agreeing to putting in a work program was a big step for them. The commission, when they recommend, the Planning and Zoning Commission recommended that this be formalized by resolution to the Board of Supervisors. They took it a step further and said you need to dedicate staff resources, additional staff resources to it. The board, that was not even, we mentioned it, they didn't even discuss it at all, but at least keeping with what we have right now, especially given other priorities, it's brought it up and equated it to other projects that we've been had on the radar for a number of years. So that was a really good one.
Is your time broken out by percent of your, how does the work plan work? It's just listed as one of many other things you'll be responsible for? Okay.
And then whatever comes in the door at any given time.
Yeah.
But it does. If someone else comes in, they have a special project that's on that work program, I then, as the director of the department, can go to the board of supervisors and say, hey, look it, you adopted this at a public meeting. You indicated that your resources, your staff resources will go to this. Now you in public setting need to determine which is a priority here. That puts some pressure back on them. Not to politicize the matter, but it does that, which can be advantageous. So. Can I do housekeeping items for a second?
Sure.
Did everyone see the restrooms when you came in right there? Okay. I have, again, 3 children, and I always need to first find where those are, so. Were you going to talk about the business items? Consent, or consensus base, or? I guess we're going to just put this on the table. Do you feel like you need to operate as a committee by Robert's Rules of Order, or are you comfortable just going consensus base, us being staff members just taking notes and reporting back notes, not minutes, just notes? I see everyone saying.
And there's no, your board never specified that, did they?
No, you can make it like, it's your own housekeeping rules, business rules, however you want to do it. If you want to just go consensus based, and the time that you're developing quarterly reports, actually final recommendations, if there's a minority opinion, you can deal with it at that point.
And we're set up as an advisory committee, right? So, okay.
Yeah.
We can't command you guys to do anything, not necessarily.
You can strongly advise us.
Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I think the point is to influence the Board of Supervisors more than anyone else, right? Yeah.
Sure.
And, these guys are your eyes and ears. They're I'm just here tonight just because I have something to help you later on, another exercise, but I won't always be here. These guys will be your leaders, and so they'll be the ones that when you have quarterly reports writing it, and whether you have a spokesperson come and do it with staff or staff, but It really is to bring that third party into the discussions though, rather than just be staff and the board and do everything in a vacuum, because we definitely have shortcomings. No, not everyone, don't act surprised that staff doesn't know them.
But you're proposing that the quarterly reports would be shared with the committee before presented to the council for board of supervisors.
Could you give us an estimate on continuity of the whole project as the supervisors may change if they?
That's a great question. It's an interesting question given the budget situation the county's in right now, as well as other local governments. A lot of my crystal ball, a lot of the recommendations that will come out of here, I anticipate we'll be dealing with regulatory changes that Story County needs to do, as well as other initiatives, but the ones that we, as Story County government, can directly effectuate the regulatory issues. We're not up for an election for another 2 years, I think, so it builds well into the time frame. And we've got a basis of 50 years now of agricultural land preservation in Story County. And this directly correlates to agricultural land preservation. And if the board were to suddenly say, a new board come on board and say, we don't believe in local food systems planning, and they've already adopted it, they're basically, in essence, saying we don't believe in ag land preservation anymore either. I don't think, I know for as long as I'm in Story County, I will fight that tooth and nail too, not just as the planning and zoning director, but just as a professionally trained planner too. But that's a very fair question. The current board members have recognized, have they entirely bought into it yet? No. I mean, it's something totally new to them, but they also see it as a way of lead others in the county, or other counties in the state, which Story County has a history of leading other counties in the state, of being one of the first to go down the path, and they like that. No matter who's on the board, you see the Story County Board of Supervisors always like to be the one in first place. So that works to our advantage too. Whether or not a year from now, you all are recommending that Story County budget $213,000 for acquisition of land and buildings for processing center. If they will buy into that, I don't. The budget picture is so up and down every second of every day right now, and everyone's facing that. I mean, not just government, I mean, everyone, I mean, but we do have members of the board that see it as something necessary to look at. Okay.
I think it also a benefit that we saw just by virtue of establishing this committee is a central location for communication amongst all you different members of what we see as the food system. Each of you in each group you represent, was deliberately chosen. Was it was not an ad hoc process, and we think that there's even if I don't worst case scenario nothing comes of this, there is a considerable amount of benefit just all of us getting together and communicating what's going on, what's happening in the community. So that's that in there as well.
So really, the role of the committee is to be, like Rich said, the advisory group collectively to the Board of Supervisors on how Story County government can initiate local food systems planning from a regulatory standpoint, then beyond that, where can we be supportive of other endeavors that Story County government can't control. Can we lead the charge in marketing efforts or act as like a repository for information through our website? That's some of the things to talk about. Basically too, we have a blank slate here to start with. There are no preconceived notions, at least from staff level of what we expect from you to recommend ultimately.